Okay, here we are, the last session of the day. The first speaker of this last session is Ilaria Giordano. So Ilaria actually did her PhD here in Parma. She also was actually did her a research project at the University of Turin as well, where she's also an adjunct professor of English linguistics at the Department of Cultures, Politics and Society. And in her recent fellowship at the University of Turin, she analyzed linguistic strategies in gender-based violence court proceedings. And her PhD explored the linguistic and discursive strategies used to popularize scientific content through blogs, YouTube videos, and comics. Okay. Today, her presentation is about multimodal health communication strategies on Instagrams. Dr. Hen says, the floor is yours. Would you like to use this one? No. Do you prefer this one? Okay.
Metto in modalità professionale. Okay. So, good afternoon. So, as Nicole said, my presentation today will focus on the issue of popularizing medical contents, which we have discussed today, and I will focus specifically on the digital context. So that medical English is highly specialized and often inaccessible to non-expert is not news. What is particularly telling, however, is that this is consistently confirmed by evidence from different parts of the world, and as can be seen in these reports, they all point in the same direction, namely the fact that a vast part of the population still struggles with health-related contents. For this reason, scientists, communicators, and institutions alike are now trying to rethink the way in which they speak to the public, and are progressively turning to social media in order to reach the public in spaces that they inhabit daily. Among these platforms, Instagram has become increasingly important in the communication of health-related content. Instagram was founded in October 2010 under the name of Bourbon by Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, and now counts almost 2 billion monthly active users. As a social, its core features include the possibility of publishing multi-image posts called carousels, and the possibility of publishing short videos through stories and reels. In addition to the possibility of adding hashtags and direct tags in order to promote the discovery of posts. So it has started to be used to disseminate health-related information in 2020, and since then it has skyrocketed in this context. So for my study, I decided to focus on Dr. Hen Says, which is a page, which is one of the most important page for health communication, created in 2018, which now counts almost 300,000 followers. So the page uses a family of cartoon characters that explain concepts related to chronic diseases, health issues, mental issues, or general health conditions. And the name Dr. Hen was inspired by the Swedish gender-neutral pronoun, because the idea that they want to convey is that no one should be judged on the basis of their health condition. and posts can be found under the form of single image posts, carousel posts, or short videos. Given the multimodal nature of these medium, my analysis is aimed at retrieving the multimodal strategies through which Dr. Hen says makes medical content accessible, credible, and actionable for Instagram users. So for this study, I manually collected the posts from the Instagram page. I created two sub-data sets, one containing 246 images and the other one containing captions and words. These posts mainly focus on mental health, infectious diseases, chronic conditions, the prevention on cancer, and they are divided into single image posts and carousel posts. Carousels are the majority, and they contain from 7 to 10 images each. And I also focused on tags, which are paratextual elements that are added in the posts. So for the first part of the analysis, I first focused on the visual analysis. So I analyzed the 246 images according to visual grammar. This theory postulates that images, like language, construct meaning through an organized system of choices that have specific communicative functions. And so I analyzed these images in terms of their representational, compositional, and interactive meanings. This type of analysis allowed me to retrieve the strategic visual choices that the page uses in order to convey medical contents. Then I decided to focus on direct tags or direct mentions, which are tools that are specific to Instagram and social networks and are used to connect posts to people or institutions. So I extracted all instances of direct tags, and through the sketch engine interface, I isolated the linguistic context and analyzed the recurring patterns in order to try and find if there were discursive functions of each tag. So the first strategy I identified in visuals is what I termed destigmatization. And this is a strategy that works to replace stigmatizing imageries and negative emotional associations with others that are more positive and promote dignity and empowerment. And so this strategy is rendered through a number of items, which I have listed in the slide. The first one is the use of these bright and celebratory colors that replace darker tones. And so they want to avoid the association of these diseases such as AIDS or autism with death or shame. And the same goes for a number of cultural symbols that are included in the posts that are celebratory. And so they want to counter the idea of victimhood and isolation. Then characters were portrayed with a medium close shot or close shot, so they were close to the viewer. So the idea is that they want to create a sort of sense of personal connection and intimacy, in the sense that they want to symbolize that these diseases are not distant from our world, but they are part of our world, and therefore we should all be concerned. These characters are positioned at an eye-level angle, so the viewers and characters are at the same height. So the idea is that no judgment. There's a democratic positioning. So nobody is superior, and nobody should judge other people or affected people because of their conditions. In the end, The last element rendering this strategy is the representation of people affected by different health conditions carrying out certain actions. So these action processes show people can actually do what normally they are thought of being incapable of. So they celebrate their competencies instead of focusing on their deficits. So the idea is that these people are not helpless victims, but are instead active in their everyday lives. The second strategy I identified is what I termed legitimation of suffering. So in these posts, invisible and stigmatized suffering is made visible. So the aim is to raise awareness on these conditions and also foster empathy in viewers. So there are a number of cultural symbols such as facial expression or body language expressing pain that express pain and suffering, and so therefore viewers are asked to identify in their feelings too. People suffering from these diseases or these illnesses are usually put in a salient position, either in the center or in an highlighted segment of the picture. And when they talk about barriers or obstacles around people who suffer, there is a specific framing which represents a sort of visual and structural entrapment, such as the one down here, which represents the barriers that people affected with suicidal thoughts encounter when trying to find help. And there's also a difference in the use of colors, because slides talking about sufferings and symptoms are characterized by darker tones that highlight the gravity and the emotional weight of the experience, while slides talking about solutions and cures transition to lighter colors. The third strategy I identified is what I termed content scaffolding. There were a number of sub-strategies used in order to transmit the contents. One of these is the use of the top-bottom framing. So at the top, there is the abstract or problematic issues that are listed, while at the bottom, there are a number of practical or actionable steps that can be taken. And this serves to guide the viewer from problem to solution. And when talking about, when listing a number of symptoms or when listing a number of cellular components, there is usually a strong framing used in order to isolate each element. And therefore, this makes each element more, let's say, understandable, more digestible. They also use action processes when anthropomorphizing characters. So when talking about invisible scientific processes, they make these processes visually relatable and more easily graspable by making these characters actually carrying out specific actions, such as the red blood, which is about to do lift-ups with the oxygen molecule. And then they also use visual metaphors, such as this one, which represents the causes of loneliness. So by using more familiar imageries, we transform what cannot be easily seen into something more approachable. Then the fourth strategy is what I termed authority establishment. So these posts are characterized by a number of cultural symbols that are related to medicine and therefore are used in order to elicit a feeling of trust in the source, such as the white coat or the stethoscope. And the physician is represented as carrying out medical activities. So we are given an embodied evidence of their professional identity. And the last strategy I identified is what I termed viewer empowerment. So a number of sub-strategies that are used to signal that we should all be affected and concerned. And this strategy also provides actionable pathways that viewers can do. So, for example, by positioning the character at the eye level of the viewer, we are invited to recognize ourselves into the represented experience, such as this one who is about to enter the hospital. Then, and this is especially true for initial and closing slides in carousels, the physician looks directly at the viewer. So by using a demand type of contact, the viewer is unable to remain a passive observer, but so the viewer is drawn into the conversation and is also called to act after seeing what he has learned. And in the end, there are also speech processes represented in the slides. So the physician either speaks to the patient or speaks directly to us by using collective pronouns or direct addresses or imperatives. And this is done in order to make the viewer feel included, acknowledged, but also empowered in what is being dealt with. Moving on to the second part of the analysis, I analyzed tags, direct tags. Mentions are often looked as paratextual elements, but by looking at the contextual linguistic elements, we see that they are strategic discursive tools as well. So, for example, one of the functions that I retrieved is what I termed institutional endorsement, because tags are used to signal the official collaboration or partnership with established health organization. So we are therefore provided with information that is validated by official institutions, such as the example that you see here, in which Dr. Hen explicitly states that he collaborates with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. Then these tags also have an action-orienting function because they are used to bridge the gap between the platform and the real world. So tags direct users to support services or to information point, which help viewers find solutions to their problems or place to find a help for their condition. And in the end, they also have a patient centering function because the tags that are included in these posts lead to pages that are led by patients. So they bring the voices of the individuals to the fore, and therefore they highlight the attention on first-person perspective and lived experiences. In the end, we can say that Dr. Hen says uses a number of discursive strategies which work together and contribute to different aspects, such as to removing the stigma associated with certain medical conditions, to making suffering visible and legitimate, to elicit trust, to engage and empower the viewers, to acknowledge the voices of patients, and also to provide addresses to support services and resources. This strategy do not function, as I said, in isolation, but they create a sort of pathway that bring the audience and transform the audience from passive scrollers of social networks into more aware audiences. So they systematically address three primary barriers to health communications, which are the lack of trust, the shame around specific health conditions, and the cognitive inaccessibility of specialized terminology. So viewers in this case are brought to trust the source, to care, and to feel emotionally involved, and to understand the concept. But if we think about it, this structure is no coincidence. So Dr. Hen says is doing what effective communicators have done for millennia. So they are structuring the content in terms of the Aristotelian triad, ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos answers the question, why should I trust you? Why should I listen to you? While the pathos answers the question, why should I care? Why should I feel involved? While the logos answer the question, why? So how does this work, or how can I understand these concepts? So apart from having retrieved all these strategies, we can also say that medical communication, in Dr. Hen says, turns out to be not only informative but also persuasive, because it does something more than presenting facts, but because it constructs trust, elicits emotions, and mobilizes action. And what is also true is that classical rhetoric has therefore not disappeared in the digital age, but it has adapted to different platform affordances. So what changes is not the logic behind persuasion, but are the semiotic resources that lexicalize or visualize these aspects. And I have listed here a number of possible future research expansions, such as, for example, comparing different Instagram accounts to see whether these strategies are account specific or can be generalized. And what I'm currently doing is the second one, namely the fact that I'm comparing different types of medical posts in order to see whether the strategies that are employed in talking about stigmatized conditions are different from the ones using in more general health facts, or when dealing with genetic diseases, for example. And also an interlinguistic analysis should be interesting in order to see whether there are culture-specific constraints. And I have listed here a number of references that I have used for the study, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Ilaria, for this very engaging presentation, very visual. Okay, here we are. So Francesca is a PhD candidate in English language and translation here at the University of Parma. Not for long though, because she's defending her thesis at the end of this month. And her research interests are focused on accessible audiovisual translation for deaf individuals from a sociolinguistic perspective. Her publications include articles that deal with Italian dubbing, Italian SDH, specifically on Rai Play, and also HBO. For example, her latest article is about exploring deafness in HBO's The Last of Us, translating identity into Italian open subtitles. Okay, I'll leave the floor to you. Thank you. Well, I didn't mention the name of the title of your presentation, but maybe you can introduce it. Yeah.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. My presentation is entitled Pain Prevention and Captions, Reproductive Health in Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. So, I will start talking about reproductive health, especially for females, or at least for those people actually assigned as females at birth, especially focusing on two illnesses, that is endometriosis and cervical cancer. And then I will analyze how these topics are treated into captions for accessibility issues in Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. What is endometriosis? I hope you know that, but I will tell you something about it. It is a very complex disease that affects the inside of a female body, let's say. And when this condition develops when a similar tissue to the actual endometrium that we can find inside of our uterus goes also outside of the uterus, also in other parts of the body, but behaves in the same exact way as proper endometrium. So it thickens, it breaks down, it bleeds during menstrual cycle. But of course, not being located inside of the uterus, it cannot go away. You cannot bleed properly, and this causes a lot of pain, as you can imagine. The causes of endometriosis are still unknown, unfortunately. This is what it looks like. Yeah, I know. Or alternatively, this way. And it is called adenomyosis. Lucky me, I have both, so I know what I'm talking about. So, what is HPV instead? Oh, sorry. Okay. HPV, of course, is human papillomavirus and is related to the development of cervical cancer. As you all know, if not treated, the cervical dysplasia that may come at first can be developed as cervical cancer. And you know that, probably you know that, symptoms may occur just when cancer arrives, not before. So that's why prevention is essential. This is the way it looks like, having a normal cervix and cancer cervix. So, but what is the challenge in this case? The challenge is how to popularize female reproductive health care through social network, especially through very short form videos that are scrollable and that can be very effective in communicating something for young women. But what about deaf people? Well, an idea may be to address how English Instagram Reels and YouTube Short treat endometriosis and HPV vaccination cervical screening from an accessible perspective. They can be useful also for those who can actually hear. So, but why endometriosis and HPV? Because both topics are still a little bit stigmatized, especially endometriosis. And when it comes to HPV instead, prevention is essential also from a very immediate communication way. So, for the design of the short form videos, the necessity of including hooks, compression, visual density may lead to immediate access also to such important information. But on the other hand, there can be accessibility risks for DHH viewers because they do not have access to the audio part. So, we should be very precise in treating these illnesses and to be sure that we do not miscommunicate or misinform people in medical content. So it is not just important what we say, but also how we say this. We need to bear in mind that construing captions is not that easy. All right, so the study goal here is to quantify caption readability and to describe multimodal strategies that either scaffold or may overlook health literacy. So let's take a look at research questions. First one, accessibility. How readable are captions in terms of pace and segmentations, and how often do captions preserve propositional content? Second one, knowledge mediation. How is medical English scaffolded across creator profiles? And the third one, ethics and trust. When captions diverge from speech, because it may happen, what kinds of information are lost or either gained for DHH viewers? So, this is my corpus rationale. I chose a platform case study, of course, Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, both of which are assigned both topics in a comparative scenario. The sampling is stratified by group. I chose videos coming from the first group that belongs to institutional or public health profiles. The second group belongs to clinicians, mainly gynecologists or med influencers. And the third group belongs to lived experience creators, so patients, actual patients, or even cartoons. So the principle of robustness here lies in the fact that the same labels and metrics, of course, are adopted for all videos. The profiles in the corpus are as follows. So for each platform, both topics are included, and for each group, 2 videos are selected. Here you can find the pages for a total of 24 videos. Of course, it is not a very large corpus, and it is a very small corpus, but still the process is ongoing, you know. So my data sources are as follows. The primary materials were composed of MP4 videos and the actual caption files in SRT format. When the on-screen text is different from speech, I added also a time code and transcript of the actual speech using gold standard annotation, and I did by myself, and I used the Jacquard similarity, that is this formula here, and which is useful to understand the difference between the caption and the speech, all right? For burnt-in captions or open captions, I extracted the on-screen captions lines by typing it by myself, but I also reconstructed the segments via 5 frame per second sampling, meaning that for each 5 frames, I see the length of the caption and the duration of the caption. So for those 5 frames, let's say, I understand the length, the way the caption is shown on the video. So it's not just from a textual perspective, but also from a multimodal perspective. And of course, to standardize the labels, I developed some specific tag sets related to caption style, caption speech relation, engagement overlays, and also notes about deaf people risking comprehension. This is an example of my annotation layers. You can see the video ID, the platform, the topic, the group, and then all the layers, all right? So we have some figures here to show you, for instance, the duration of that single caption, the segments, so how long that caption stays during the frames, all right? And so on and so forth. Of course, as I anticipated, there is very, very small corpus, right? But still, as you can notice, there is a slightly difference between the actual open captions and the total transcript of the speech, okay? But it is so little that we can, overcome this. So, first results, caption or speech rate across the corpus. I analyzed the speed in which the captions occurred. So we can find on the y-axis the mean caption speech rate, word per minute, and on the x-axis we can find the actual groups. Okay, both coming from Instagram, YouTube, endometriosis, or HPV. As you can see, we have some differences in here. Of course, there's still a balance among all these groups, but some differences still occur. For instance, for group 1, so the group related to institutional profiles, we find, let's say, mid-range speed in delivering captions, and also the fact that there's not much medical terminology used. So that's why probably they go mid-fast, not that fast or not that slow, because they do not tend to be so dense in terminology, so they can actually use a more generic language to expose a problem, to explain something in more detail. Differences occur in group 2. As you can see, for instance, for the YouTube group according to HPV content, we find that gynecologists are very fast in speaking and in using captions to explain a problem related to HPV, and they are very dense in terminology, and also, we will see in a moment, very dense in visualization of the problem. So this speed, this occurrence of much medical technicisms may be a problem when it comes to deaf people, because they do not read the same speed as we did. We need to consider that. And also, group 3 is the one that goes slightly slower. They are non-specialists, and they also do not use much specific terminology as for G1, and so they perhaps tend to be clearer, for instance, in their explanation. Of course, this is just a very small sample, so we cannot generalize more, but still, this is the tendency, the overall tendency. Second results are according to the frequency of medical terms. According to endometriosis, of course, the first element that is mostly frequently used is endometriosis. But then, with the same percentage, there's pain. There's not another medical or technicism. There's pain. This is because this kind of videos that talk about endometriosis, since endometriosis is not that known by general community, they tend to prefer more to, let's say, explain what it feels like to have endometriosis, and not to explain what endometriosis is. Instead, for HPV, there's a different tendency. Of course, the first term is cancer, the second is cervical. It occurs like a common collocation between the two. And then we have HPV, vaccine, PAP, screening, speculum, cervix. They're more technical, but they are used for campaigning. And in fact, for mediation using medical English, you can see that especially group 1 uses this kind of medical terms to advertise prevention strategies, to let people go and take care of themselves. So to do the famous screening. All right? So here prevention is used as an advertising perspective using technical terms. And that's why the second group that uses it the most are gynecologists, but not that much, because they tend to explain what the problem is. They do not tend to provide campaigning strategies, all right? This is an example. The first one is Dr. J. Mehta's YouTube short. This is, all right, okay. Caption style, as you can see, is of karaoke labels. It is very nice to expose, because captions occur like just one word per frame, not per second, but per frame. They are very fast. For instance, in 1 second, 3 different captions occur. They're very, very fast. So here the competition is composed by these captions occurring very, very fastly. Also, the branding overlays that add a third layer of subscription, and the ultrasound in the background. So all the propositional access or information must be reconstructed from the perspective of a deaf person. But look at this example. There's too much information. There's an image in the background, captions, especially on 2 lines or 3 lines, so it's very dense content, himself talking, his brand, a title, so there's a lot of information to proceed, all right? So here, the problem is segmentation, yes, but also accuracy in terminology and in showing material without overloading the eye. This is another example coming from the group 1. So it is the profile of HPV Cancers Alliance in an Instagram reel. As you can see, the caption style here is a little bit different because it is more traditionally presented. And a multimodal scaffolding here is present because prevention tiles reinforce the call to action. We see just a person, a clinician, an authority stance. We can see the captions at the bottom, and we can see just a couple of sentences, but not anymore. So the overall caption quality for deaf people is essentially strong. It gives a huge message of level access to the information, but the main risk can be an overlay density just because captions and what appears on screen in the background can be the same thing. So it tends to read twice the same thing, you know. And last but not least, I want to show you a video coming from the group 3. So the person that suffers from endometriosis, and then combined with another video, according to HPV, from an Instagram account of a gynecologist.
Hi, I'm Megan. I have endometriosis. This is bad pain day. 30 minutes after waking up, I was collapsed on the floor in pain. My partner took me right back to bed, and I've been there for the last 24 hours. No one thinks to film themselves when they're in this much pain, but I asked my partner to so you could get a glimpse of what endometriosis is really like.
This is your friendly reminder to schedule your regular cervical cancer screening. Last year, I shared my experience as an OBGYN getting my own Pap test. And I admit, I get butterflies too. And yes, I hide my underwear at my visits. You might not know what a Pap test involves and why it's vital for your health. That's why I'm partnering with Hologic to share how the Pap test prevents cervical cancer. The procedure is quick, usually pain-free, and your provider should prioritize your comfort. You can request a smaller size speculum if needed. Hot tip, your provider does not care if your toes are done or if you've shaved. We only care that you prioritize your health.
Okay, so the first video comes from Patient's Voice, a YouTube endometriosis video that shows lived experience, but here there's a low lexical overlap because captions are not the same as speech. They tend to summarize. However, the message is clear because it shows pain through the video, through the repetition of the word pain itself, to other clusters such as couldn't move or you don't normally see. So they managed to give the message, the actual message. However, here the risk is to lose context cues. But of course, it still works on empathy. And the second example comes from Nicole Sparks, and she is doing counseling and anti-stigmatization with verbatim captions. Captions here are karaoke style, and she focuses on procedural explanation and reassurance. So she tends to normalize anxiety or embarrassment through the use of first person and second person singular. For instance, your friendly reminder, my own Pap test, I got butterflies, look at me, I do the same things as you, so don't be afraid to do screening. That's the hidden message, okay? So here, the captions that are also verbatim and are also stressed in a way that when she does prevention message, when she adopts prevention messages, the text is highlighted in blue. Instead, when she shares her own experience, the text is highlighted in yellow. So there are also multimodal strategies according to color. So here, the DHH value is of strong propositional access plus a guidance for action. So to conclude, I focused on 2 captioning profiles by topic. HPD tend to focus more on prevention, on high severity. The representation of captions are more linear and sentence-like. Endometriosis instead focuses more on chronic pain and stigma, and is more platformating layering. So it uses a lot of overlays and colors and visuals. The short form strength is the fact that they both show an actionable core. So when redundancy is present, they can stabilize meaning, but with the risk of being too loaded. And the key finding here is that captions are not always verbatim, but mostly. The mechanism here is also of a microsegmentation and keywording process that is, of course, the complete opposite of propositional sentences. And in these cases, syntax may be reconstructed by deaf people. And the desired risk is, of course, the multimodal competition that can split the attention. Next steps may be to extend the corpus, of course, and to also extend the research upon euphemism and explicitness mapping. So these are my references, and I want to thank you for the attention.
Okay, thank you, Francesca. This very passionate presentation.
I am sorry.
Okay, I think we have a few minutes for final questions.
Now, my curiosity is, I saw that the Instagram account you took into account provides information about autism, heartburn, BFRB. Now, is there any difference in the way each of these, because autism is a condition, okay, heartburn is, I don't know,
General health.
yeah, problem. Okay, is there any difference in the way, okay, the Dr. Han talks about autism or, you know, other kinds of ailments?
So yeah, this is one of the future research that I listed, and I'm starting to have a look at it in a comparative way. Let's say that especially in stigmatized conditions such as autism, AIDS, or mental health issues, there is a strong emphasis on making readers feel on the same level as the characters portrayed. So the destigmatization strategy is prominent in these cases. While in posts that talk about more general health issues such as menstruations, acid reflux, when you break your bone, what happens? In that case, the prominence is on strategies that help scaffolding the content. So strategies that help structure the different parts. So they usually start with a general description of the issue, then they move on to something more detailed. So portraying like inner parts of the organ or of the body, and then they move on to describing problems that may arise in the future, and then they close with a list of sources that you can consult or associations that you can refer to due to these problems. So what I have started to notice is this type of difference in the strategies used. But then there are other posts like the ones talking about mental health. They are different from stigmatized conditions, but I still have to explore it. So these are the preliminary results, let's say, and then it would be good to go more in depth on this.
On Instagram, you can have posts, carousels, stories, reels. Is there any difference in the way these various affordances are exploited to talk about
Well, so for this corpus here, I downloaded all posts, be it carousels or single image posts, and I still haven't looked at videos or reels. What I have looked is that I have looked at videos only on the surface of it, let's say. So the focus is on action processes. So in these videos, patients are shown as going into hospitals and asking for advice to medical practitioners. So the emphasis here is on speech processes, so verbal exchanges, and on actions that are depicted, both from the point of view of the GP and on the point of view of the patient. So, but that's just initial reflections. So I want to go more into detail.
Okay. Any other question?
I had a question for Dr. Illiano, sorry. You said before that the second word that came up in your corpus was pain for endometriosis, yeah?
Yeah.
And we both know that endometriosis is understudied. There's more studies for baldness than endometriosis, so we're on the same line on that. So why do you think it's important, like, why do you think the second word is pain and not something that explains it, that aims to study it, just like others' health concerns and stuff?
Okay, because at first I think that people actually are aware of this under research on endometriosis. So the first thing is to create empathy, to construct interpersonal with other people. They may have endometriosis but do not know. I can share with you my own experience. I knew there was something wrong with me. I mean, I use a very hard word, I know, but I noticed that I could have endometriosis by watching reels. And not just because they were explaining to me what endometriosis was, because I already knew, but because they showed pain. So I thought, okay, I have to go to another gynecologist. And it took me 18 years to find out that I had endometriosis. So yeah, I think that pain is crucial here. It plays a huge role because the first important thing is to share experiences. After having gathered information according to personal experiences and empathy, then perhaps further research can be done also from a lexical point of view. All right, thank you.
So I think maybe we can wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope, this first day was, inspiring, insightful. I certainly learned quite a few things. So I'm really satisfied with today. Thank you to all the speakers and the audience. I hope to see you tomorrow again. I'm looking at the students. It's okay. Okay. So thank you.